I'm doing a quick presentation today regarding about what is going to happen in the fourth industrial revolution. That's really the target of this presentation. And one thing I want to say as well, I want to make you think, because everyone is talking about, you know, the industrial revolution, you know, the fourth industrial revolution, or the industry 4.0, but they're not telling us what is coming up, you know, in terms of society. I'm not going to tell you any answers, like I can't provide any answers. We don't know, but we will try to figure out something. Sorry, we will. Anyway, moving on. So I'm also sure you are very, very curious to find out a little bit about me. Sumit already mentioned a few things about me. Technically, I'm Portuguese. My name is José Alberto Oliveira. In case you don't know, so you can call me José, because most of the people I know, they struggle to pronounce my first name correctly, José. So just feel free to call me José, which is the British way as well. And so feel free, don't be afraid. So as you can see, I took a master's in BIM, but to be frank, and that's why I put it there, I probably regret now today the fact I took a master's in BIM. I think they are more interesting subjects nowadays, which we should be focused, you know, especially digital side and what is coming up. So, moving on. And that starts with a story. So, once upon a time, someone decided to inspire themselves in the desert flower to create one of the most impressive designs that we have today. You know, you can see, I think you can recognize very, very well. This is Burj Khalifa in Dubai. And the reason I'm bringing this is because I want to make a comparison, you know, a short and quick comparison between what happened, you know, a few years back and what happened, you know, a bit 8 years ago. So 8 years ago, someone decided also to make one of the greatest buildings of all times, I think, in my opinion, the famous Empire State Building. I love this building. I love to see as well the pictures, you know, we can see like this guy standing in an incredible way. So, but the purpose is we want to understand what really happens. And there are quite a few facts which they are very, very interesting regarding to these projects, which both of them, they were built or constructed during two recessions. One of them was the Great Depression, which is a global financial crisis. And then we got Burj Khalifa as well, which was during the credit crunch. Analyzing some project chronology, and starting with Burj Khalifa, we can see the design started more or less in 2002. There was a lot of design alterations. I don't know if you know, even the names changed. But essentially, the construction of these projects started in 2004, and by January 2010, they complete. So we got a program of 6 years just for construction. But that is, 8 years ago. Going now to the Empire State Building, and I love this. What happens, they start the design process in 1929, and they start the process of construction on 1930, so with the excavations. Do you have an idea how long it took to build Empire State Building? Any idea? To construct? I think you will be surprised. It only took 13 months. That is a fact. It's a fact. And I learned that when I was doing my master's, because everyone used this case, to demonstrate that there are real issues of productivity in the construction. Another curious fact about, about these two projects is one of them, they had a budget of, I think Burj Khalifa was $878 million, and they ended up spending approximately 1.5 billion. While in the Empire State Building, they had a budget of $16 million, and they ended up spending almost $41 million. And plus, they finished, 45 ahead, the project. So that is amazing. And, so what happens, it seems we have a great problem in our, construction. And we know, I think we all know about the construction issues we have. It's true as well, things are getting better, and technology is going to help, and that is the key. Innovation is the key. Technology is the key to really get, the benefits we need and improve the speed and quality of our products as well. So, as I mentioned to you, as we know, we got several issues and with low productivity in construction. This is one of chart again. I know you saw a few in the last few days, in the last couple of days, which compares, the productivity in construction, and as you can see, apparently is coming down again in general as a global economy, and while manufacturing is doing very well. And so what happens here is, for example, there are some countries, for example, which like Germany and Japan, they have stagnated. They have not really improved at all. But we also have some kind of outperformance. And I was surprised doing my research. I found out Australia is one of the countries which is doing quite well. But we also have the biggest accelerator, which is China, which I think we saw even yesterday some quite nice video from what they're doing in China, how they can build quickly, especially. I remember as well that I saw recently a video of I think it was a 15-story hotel, which they built in 6 days. In 6 days, they managed to build up 15 floors in 6 days. They claim. Of course, they work 24 hours per day, but anyway, but that's the way they do in China. They don't stop. Moving on, another interesting fact which I found today, or I found in the last few weeks, is regarding to the Industry Digitalization Index that comes from McKinsey Global Institute. They claiming that, in construction, we have the lowest, one of the lowest, digitalizations, and we know the importance, and we trying to highlight the importance in the last few days of digitalization in the industry and how bad we are at the moment. Of course, we're trying to improve, and we need to improve, otherwise we'll never get the benefits. As an example, this is the data from the US, which, as you can see, second last, but Europe is not doing even better. Is the last one, we are in last in Europe in this case. So, now, moving on, so what really happened, I don't know. We have all this technology, and we saw the example of happening, 80 years ago with the Empire State Building, which they made an amazing job, and we didn't have the technology we have, but they managed to do things. So one of the things I want to go as well, I want to go back as well on time and understand as well, the first industrial revolution and the second industrial revolution and so on. So as you know, and because you heard yesterday, sorry for repeating this, but what happens is, the first industrial revolution, it was powered by the steam engine. That was the main driver, the main enabler for the first industrial revolution. The main industry at that time was textiles, which in fact today, for example, the textile is not anymore in Europe or in US, is back on China and India. So during the second industrial revolution, that was powered by the invention of electricity and also other drivers, but that was the major, because we could start with the mass productions, like for example, we got the picture of John Ford, and also the booming of the oil industry as well, that happens in that 2 centuries. But I don't want to go deep, but I want to talk about the third industrial revolution. So what happens in the third industrial revolution? That was powered by the invention of the computing power, which is very, very important, and that's what we're looking now and at this stage, because what happens now is the evolution of the computing power as well. Is driving the technology. So, initially in the 70s we got the computing frames, which in the 60s, and then on the 70s we have the development of the personal computer, and then late in the 80s and 90s we got the development of the internet, which in the beginning, there were a lot of people kind of not trusting about the use of personal computers. I got this short video of a Swedish reporter that he provides his personal opinion about the personal computer. Let's watch. Sorry. There is a sound, but I know you can't understand because he's speaking Swedish, but we got to the subtitles. Well, I think he's right, you know, the computer is very useful playing games. Anyway, even now talking about gamification, he was right. But as you can see, that was a typical naysayer. And that's why I'm trying to highlight here. There's a lot of, you know, people always denying what is happening right now, or they can't see. But that's the problem we have as a human as well. We can't normally see what is coming up. And he was not the only one. There was a famous as well, you know, astrophysics, an American astrophysicist, Cliff Stoll, that in '95, when the internet started to boom as well, he also wrote some interesting facts, you know, or he shared his opinion. This article, it was published on the Newsweek magazine. So it was not published in any kind of, or any magazine. Newsweek is a very well-known magazine. And technically, he says that internet will fail. That's what he is claiming. We know he got wrong. So, and are we getting wrong as well? What is coming up? That's a big question for us. And so, one of the things I want to highlight, and I think is important, because that is the kind of patterns is coming up. And that's what we can understand from what happens in the past is, if you see, for example, during the last 3 centuries, since the first industrial revolution, a lot of things happens in the society. A lot of things happen. We got the rise of the capitalism. We got the communism coming up. We got the social welfare state, which is very common in Europe. We got labor laws that didn't exist. We got living conditions which were definitely improved. We got urbanization and much more. That happens in the last 3 centuries. And all that happens because of industrial revolutions, because they help us to evolve, to get better, and also to have different views or different perspectives, or even different ideologies. So that is the point. So now, getting to talk about something more interesting is we are now starting, you know, the 4th industrial revolution. And what is this? And why should care? That, I think, is the 2 key questions of today, to understand what is coming up. I will leave the why we should care as the last part. But starting, I would like to make a recommendation. If you have the time and opportunity, there is a great book, which is from Klaus Schwab, which is the founder of, and the executive chairman of the World Economic Forum. You can also, if you want, buy the book, or even just watch the audio book, if you want to be more modern as well. And he really explains a lot of things of his vision and what they're doing as well in the World Economic Forum, and what they're studying or trying to understand. So, well, the point here is what is the fourth industrial revolution? In my humble opinion, the fourth industrial revolution is technically a fusion of the most powerful technologies that the humankind ever see. So that's the way I like to define. And so it's a fusion of technologies. We know some of them. I haven't captured all of them as well in this slide because there are so many. But I tried to capture some of they are related to the design and construction industry. We got generative design. Even in the last few days, yesterday, we saw some examples of what, for example, Project Fractals or even a Dreamcatcher project from Autodesk they can do. We got the augmented reality, we got the virtual reality, the mixed reality, we got the immersive design as well. So which we can see different, you can see, things in a different way. We almost can touch objects. We got the advanced robotics. Also, again, we watched a lot of good stuff, which is happening with the robotics. We got the 3D printing or the additive manufacturing, which for me at this stage is really happening, and we can see great examples of 3D printing today, and tomorrow is coming even more. So we got the autonomous vehicles as well, which sooner or later you might not need a car ourselves because we got all these vehicles which we can use, and even changing our economy. Have you heard about sharing economy, for example? Good principles of, or good examples of sharing economy is, for example, Airbnb or Uber, where people can share their assets and we can maximize the utilization of these products, of these assets. We got also the big data or data analytics, which is big, is really, and in my frank opinion, we don't know how to use these data, and that is a big challenge. We need to find ways how to explore the big data. We got also the Internet of Things. How are we going to connect? How are we going to analyze all these data? We got all these sensors everywhere. We will capture data all the time, again. And if you see, by the way, everything is connected somehow. And also, another one which is important, and I think there's a lot of investment needs to be done, especially from an infrastructure point of view, is the industrial internet. We are talking about what is industrial internet, is ultra-fast internet, is also, for example, there are already mentions about quantum internet. So it's so many things coming up. And I'll leave it also, not for the last, but one of the most important ones, and one probably we should probably be afraid. Not joking, but even, I don't know if you know, Stephen Hawking, you know what he said about artificial intelligence? So if you don't know, you should check. He said that could be the end of humanity. I'm not saying that is going to happen anyway, but he said that. So, but what is artificial intelligence? Technically, is a combination of several techniques, like machine learning, deep learning, reinforcement learning, and others. This is the power of artificial intelligence. And for most that don't know as well, artificial intelligence is not new. It's been there for 16 years approximately. And I think now we're starting really to move to the next step, but not to the final step. So, but at the end, cloud computing, if you see, is in the center. I think without the cloud computing, most of this stuff that will not work. That's where it's coming all the power. All the power is coming from the cloud computing. And do you know what is going to happen as well? Soon will not be cloud computing, it will be quantum computing. So all the power we had, about cloud computing is going to be 10 times, 100 times more powerful. That is amazing, I think. If we now say we can do, faster calculations or use, the cloud computing in a better way, imagine, probably in 10 years' time or 15 years' time, or maybe less, we don't know yet. So that's what's coming up. But there was something that really, blew my mind when I heard about this technology. And that was probably 2 years ago, or maybe less, no more than 2 years ago, I can guarantee. That was mind-reading technology. And when I find out, mind-reading technology, bloody hell, what is happening to the world? I could never imagine that, we will have tools be able to read what we think. And in fact, Facebook is one of the companies that is really already looking, and as far as I know, they have already 60 developers, working in this kind of a group of 60 people working in these. But they're not only ones. Microsoft as well is looking to mind reading technology. But that was just a few examples as well about what is happening. There are many other things like nanotechnology, biotechnology, even blockchain, which is very, very popular nowadays because of Bitcoins, and many more. That's just a small door what is coming up. But when I heard about mind reading technology, the first thing that came up in my mind is, wow, we are opening the Pandora box. That's what we are right now opening. What happens is, I don't know if you know the meaning of Pandora box, but we are opening the doors of the unknown. So we don't know what is coming up. That's the fact. That's my view and my understanding from, not just mine, but other people too. I just like to use the Pandora box as something to illustrate what is coming up. But that is a big step I think we're taking into the future. So we talk about all these nice technologies that are coming up. So, but what that means for our industry, for the AEC industry. So what we can see straight away, we're going to have supercomputers, which they will do everything, not like our old computers. We always get stuck. Oh, it doesn't work like mine, today. and also, what we're going to have as a designers or engineers or whatever we are, we're going to have powerful, tools to do this quick analysis. We don't need to wait hours or even minutes. They will be done in seconds. Plus, we're going to have accurate simulations because the way we're going to use the data, if we're using the right way, of course, it will provide the capability we have had before, and that is starting to happening. More, we're going to have optimized designs. We're going to have the power to understand the variations of designs and the output, so we can analyze, we can simulate, and also, in the end, we're going to get faster and better designs. We're going to have cheaper designs, guys. That's what is really happening to us. It's coming all this power. The output is quicker, is simple, is quicker. Everything is going to be made quicker in the quicker way. And finally, what we're doing, and we saw some examples as well, and I have some examples regarding to that, is the way we're going to be able to design. We're going to be able to design directly to fabrication. That's what is really happening already. And there are quite a few examples at the moment where people are doing design to fabrication directly. That's what is, as an example, what is going to happen to our industry, and it's already happening, to be frank with you. Moving on, I know we saw something yesterday about this. So laying bricks. So is that a human job or a robot job? In fact, there are already a lot of examples on these as well regarding laying bricks. The image on the top is an American company, which they claim with this robot they can build up these residential houses and can save around 7 to 8 weeks in terms of construction. We got also the example we saw below, which is a different type of machine as well, which is just put the bricks. So at the end is the robots are here and they're doing a good job. They're not going to be perfect for everything. We know that, but for kind of repetitive tasks, they will be very, very good because they have this kind of accuracy which even us sometimes we don't have. They can, they have all these lasers, all these sensors. They have all these tools with humans we don't have. So another good examples when I like to talk, when we talk about a lot of examples yesterday about 3D printing. That is the image from one of the first 3D printings, which is the Office of the Future in Dubai. If I'm not wrong, they print this building, or this set of buildings in 70 days. And then they took approximately 2 days to bringing this from the factory to the site, and also they took a little bit more days to completely finish the installation of systems and the fit outs. So Dubai as well is looking forward to I think by 2013, to 1/3 of these buildings to be all 3D printed. But they also claim to be the first, but apparently I find out there was not the first. There is this small studio house, which they were built in Russia before, and it took only 24 hours to build up this small house. It's just a living room where people can, it's a studio house. And that building, the most interesting fact of this building, it was built under temperatures, in harsh conditions, which means is they build up these below 0 temperatures. So we're not talking about, nice conditions. They build up, during the winter. We even can see there's snow around. But that it looks nice, but we're talking about, small buildings. Okay, so what happens is, in China, yes, the biggest accelerator, what happens is they are already building 5-floor buildings in 3D printing. And there are some very interesting facts regarding these. They build up these 5 floors building, a residential building, and they come up with some interesting data. So they're claiming that construction waste, it can be reduced between 30 to 60%. They are also claiming that production time, it can be reduced to 50, 70%, and labor costs to 50 and 80. But the most interesting one is regarding the total cost. It cost them $161,000 to build up this. So that is the difference, is the costs. And everyone is looking for the cost reductions. And I don't think it will be possible to build anything like this for $160 or $160,000. So I think it's almost impossible. But they managed, and they want to make it this bigger. They now plan to do something even bigger. That was just the 5 floors. So, but there are also some quite good examples, just not on the buildings. We have a company in the Netherlands, which they now creating the first steel bridge that is being 3D printed, and they are completing this bridge next month, and they are expecting as well to install this in Amsterdam location, in the final location, next year. That was the first 3D printing bridge in steel. It's not just about house, it's many other things as well. Even the bridge, things probably will never think, they can be done in 3D printing. There are also another great example. Play, please. Can you play? Oh, okay, I can know myself. So what happens is there is a Chinese company also developed this monster. They call the segmental bridge launching machine, which it can build quite a few kilometers of bridge, or with these kind of precast, segments, which they can install. Have a look and try to understand. I think it will be quite amazing in terms of engineering and precision they can do this. But that is just a good example of things can be done. They are doing all these magic, or if you're not going to call magic, but these strong and amazing robots, or these machines we're creating nowadays. So, but let's imagine a little bit about the future. I don't know if you saw, there is a very nice video about generative design, one from Autodesk. This for me is a great inspiration. And also, if you have opportunity, if you do a Google search or go to YouTube and just type, generative design Autodesk, you will find this. I just took a print screens of this video. So what they're trying to demonstrate to us is something which is quite interesting, because I think that is going to be possible, and it's coming up very, very soon in terms of technology. They use the share as an example. So let's say you are a designer, you want to design a share. So what we're going to do, we're going to tell the computer, the machine, some of the inputs, or the outputs expect. I want the shell with a height of 5 kilograms, support weight 120 kilograms, and you would define the cost as a 30 pounds. So what happens? The machine with this, cloud computing, with this power, they will start to calculate, the design share. And what happens, it will give you probably thousands of options, design options, and if not millions in many scenarios, because the power of the machine, it will create many different shapes. It's not limited to what we can see, it can do. And at the end, you're going to have a product. So, but the reason I'm trying to use this as an example, because I would like to create one example, a specific example for our industry. So imagine now that we have like an architectural model, a conceptual architectural model. I don't want to go too far. So we are, let's say, a structural engineer. So imagine now we got the software A, B, C. You take this 3D model from a concept design and you bring this to this software. As a structural engineer, you provide some basic inputs, what you want to achieve. So imagine now the machine or the software ABC will start to calculate all the design options of the structural steel model, as an example, or even steel model, and it will do it. Believe me, this is happening, and it's coming up soon probably with some people. And that's the kind of tools that we can expect. And watching this video, one of the things I perceive is in the future is probably anyone can be a designer, because all the power, all the knowledge will be in the machine. They will know more than us because all the information is set, is there, is on a database, and they can do anything. That's one of the examples really I really like to think, and sometimes I use as well to try to provide idea what is coming up. So, but now also talking a bit about what we're doing at DiRoots. We are a very small company, to be frank, and we only start almost 10 months ago. And what we're doing at the moment, we have a client, and honestly I can't provide the name of the client, but I think you can see what type of client we're talking about. They have, they're still having some traditional ways to work. And what they do, they normally do like most of the people as well at this stage do, or maybe not, but they do some sketch in 2D, AutoCAD. And then after they got some kind of approvals, they start doing the 3D modeling. So they also want, and they invite us to speak with them because they want to kind of, go through a digital path. And so after we understand what they're looking for, we define this automation plan, if you want to call it design automation plan. It's not very, very hard, because one of the things I also understand, is, anything that is rule-based, which technically any engineering is rule-based, anything can be code. That's the challenge, So for the first phase with this client, what we're trying to do, we're trying to, based in their specifications they have for their products, because they have these very well organized, and it's not that hard, to be frank with you, looking from my perspective of what I could understand. Our first plan is to be able to allow the designer to, he can specify the product, and automatically, this software we will create for them, or this platform, it will be a combined platform, which is going to be a web-based platform plus a Revit plugin. It will be automatically create the digital model. In this case, will be a lift, as you can see. So, or digital object, or BIM object if you want. What we want to do as well, and that is possible, we want to allow them to do the drawing production. But automate drawing production. It's quite simple to do on lifts because there is not a lot of confusion. You go, oh, there's the space for the lifts. So that's what we want to do. We also want to do some design validation. What we mean with design validation, that's a term I like to use for clash detection. I'm from an MEP background, so I hate the word clash detection because in MEP you always have clashes. So I like to call design validation. So why? So as I said, we do the model, we can integrate and analyze automatically within, for example, the Revit architectural model, structural model, if there's any potential clash. And if there's any potential clash, what happens is to be able to allow the option also to automate the redesign or the variations of alterations to create a final product. what we want to do in this first phase, having this kind of specification, we want to create a small database of costs estimation. So what we're trying to allow to this client is also to provide, some cost estimation at the early stage as well. So what happens is, in the past, they probably took, I would say, 2 weeks to do some 2D drawings, probably another 2 weeks to do some 3D modeling as well, or maybe 1 week. It depends on the different type of lifts they have, elevators. But with these two, we're probably going to be able to allow them to do this in a day with some verifications, or even some variations if they want. On phase 2, we're looking to introduce the machine learning, and I think you probably understand why. The reason we're doing machine learning because we want to capture from the first phase all the experience we're having, all the signals that we are receiving in the database, so and actions as well. So from that, the next step is going to be also to be able to design some kind of bespoke designs for lifts as well, because they do a lot of bespoke designs for lifting as well. It's just not the standard model. So that's the point. And so we are learning from the first phase, so we can also start to look into the bespoke designs, which normally they are more specific and of course more expensive. And also as a final, because we are creating the database, the data sets, we're also planning to do a cost estimation detail. And to be frank with you, I can't say 100% accurate, but we're looking forward to do something quite good. So that's the project we probably will start begin next year. And we also have some our products. I don't know if you heard, we have launched a couple of months ago the Sheet Link. Is a Revit plugin. It's free, so anyone can download, anyone can use. I also have on the next slide just so the quality is quite bad, sorry. This is our Sheet Link. Like I said, is free, and what you can do is a very simple thing, but very important. Is about data. That was our first plugin, our first public plugin we did. So why we want to do it? Because data is one of the most important pieces of the puzzle. So. And then with this plugin, we are also, by the way, releasing probably in a couple of weeks, maybe 3 weeks, a new version with a few more options as well, based on some clients' feedback. We're happy to provide these because it's something we are providing for free, and also we're learning as well from this experience. But this is an example. Hopefully as well, soon, we are also launching at least a couple of more plugins, and again, they're all free. That's the big purpose of DiRoots. We want to create free tools, but also affordable tools. That's the way we believe. I don't know if you noticed, for those that really like Dynamo, we also have a Dynamo package, so also called DiRoots. So if you want to explore, feel free. And I also would like to give you some ideas, I would say, about what as a business we should do or should be doing. We of course, and you understand, a lot of things are changing in the industry, and I think it's important to be able to attract new talent. One of the things that I was surprised because nobody mentioned yesterday, one of the skills I think is very, very important for the future is coding. I don't know what you think, what you see, but I can see that coding is going to become like a second language of the world. Everyone needs to have, I'm not saying be a pro in coding, but they need to have some kind of understanding. Even today, there are a lot of examples of people using Dynamo or even Rhino, other tools, which the software don't allow us to do, but they can do something else. That is a skill, I think, to take in consideration. Because even the way we are developing software is going to be different in the future. I think in the future, most of software is going to be open to, you can customize your product. That's the future. I also think it's quite important to invest in skills and training. And when I mean skills and training, people still talk, we have to go to university. There are so many ways to learn today. You don't need to go to university. I done my master's by distance learning as an example. So I believe in e-learning. And I think we got great examples which are even not very expensive. Like, we got linking learning is a very, very, training tool which everyone can access. It has a cost, but it's not that much. But you have access so much training information, and just not even for construction, to many other things. I'm using this many times. Whenever I need to learn some new skills, I use my LinkedIn account to access the training. And I think that's the kind of things we need to do. One of the things I would like to highlight as well, to attract new talent, we need, I think, to change the way we normally do interviews to people. I don't know, but in the past, people used to go to interviews, and the first thing they ask is, tell me you are, tell me what you have been done. I think that it should be different, because the new people as well, the new generation, they have a different view of the world. So I think is the time now to the companies kind of promote themselves first, and even for the people we're going to interview, they will be more relaxed. So you need to tell them why they should work with you. That's my personal view. That's what I'm trying to do when I'm trying to bring someone, is why you should work for us. I think that needs to change, but this is a personal view. I think also we need to provide more modern workspace, and also flexible workspace. I'm not saying, you should allow people using a bike in the office, but definitely, a flexible working time and open office is a way forward, because that will help people to inspire, to feel comfortable as well while they're working. One of the things is important as well, guys, and I think everyone knows, is we need to do, digital models. I don't like the word BIM models, because one of the things I learned is no BIM model, but BIM is a process, not the model. So we also need to start, and everyone I think is doing, but we need to focus on creating the digital models, because the digital models with the data, they're becoming very powerful, and that's what we can use. We also need to learn how to use the data, and that's the key. Because we have a lot of data, and most of the companies I did work in the past, and I know as well, they don't know how to use the data. It's not easy. I'm not going to be easy, but that's what we need to learn. I think it's important as well, to find, which kind of technology, the adoption of new technologies, what kind of technologies they can bring higher revenue, or even we need also to identify the new products and solutions that they are coming up, and that's a big. I think this could be just probably one job person, finding, what kind of new products, because every week we got new products, every week we got new solutions, but most of them they're not good, but we need to try. One of the things I think is very, very important nowadays is to find new partners. So sometimes we need to find the right people to work with us, to help us leverage our capabilities, and that's the tricky part as well. Now, moving to the last section of the presentation, why we should care about all of this. So what happens is, I think we could see some patterns of what is happening in the society, and what happened in the society as well. We could see a lot of things really, in terms of society change. So with these new technologies, what do you think is going to happen? I'm sure a lot of things will be different. I have a video here with sound, please. That this is the experts talking about, what could happen.
For the last 2 or 3 centuries, there is always this fear the machines are taking over.
I don't think anyone can irresponsibly say, oh, don't worry, nothing will happen to jobs.
Can you go back?
This time it might be true.
From the beginning, please.
The world's people say they're not overly anxious about technology. They are deeply, deeply anxious about their jobs.
AI will impact jobs, but we don't know what's going to come. We don't even know what new inventions are going to be.
To reinvent yourself when you're 20, it's difficult, but you do it. To do it again at 30, at 40, at 50, that's very high levels of anxiety.
Different people have different views about whether these half of the jobs will take 10 years or maybe 30 years or 40 years to be replaced. But even 40 years is faster than Industrial Revolution.
So as you can see, these are the experts talking about, what potentially can happen to the society. Or we don't know. That's a big fact. We don't know, and we cannot know, because at this stage we don't know what is coming up. And what we learn as well is today that the dominance technology, they will not be the same in 20 years' time or 30 years' time. We don't really know. There are some kind of interesting facts as well. One is a report which came up from the university, Oxford University, which, by the way, Andrew mentioned yesterday as well. As well, this report, they create this report, they use machine learning to kind of predict what is going to happen. I think, if you are very, very interested, you should have a look. There is another report as well from, again, which has been highlighted on the World Economic Forum, which they predict that over 50% of the people in the world, they could lose their jobs. Or, sorry, in the US in this case. The first one is about 47%. So this is higher numbers. Of course, we know that during these new generation, a new revolution is happening now. Many jobs will be created, definitely they will be created. But I don't think at the scale we'll be able to replace. But I don't think this is bad, guys, because what I'm trying to highlight is really, we have to readapt. The society, again, have to readapt. The way we did readapt long time ago. If you go back, I think in the beginning of the 19th century, 90% of the people in the US, as an example, they were working in agriculture. Now we only have 2%. So what it means is we have to readapt again. I'm not saying if you work in construction today, tomorrow you can be working something else. Not us probably, but the future generations that will coming up. So, I can control again. Thank you. So that's the big challenge we have. We're going to have potentially a lot of people which will be looking for work, and we, at the moment, I don't think we need to be concerned, but we need to look for answers and try to perceive really what is going to happen to our society. One of the things I will highlight, and I think is very, very important. I don't know what is going to happen. I can't predict the future, honestly, guys. Anyone that it will try to do will be an idiot, because it's impossible. Like we said, there is no way to predict. But what we can see from the past is, the fundamentals of economics, they will probably need to be adjusted. We have, and we mentioned today as well, about the sharing economy. That is a great example. All things are changing. So I think also, believe me or not, the political ideologies, they will change again. I think will be the end of what we know, the capitalism. What is coming up, I have no idea. But that will be something to consider. The capitalism will not work. Imagine, that even the way we have companies, we're talking about companies, and if you look now, the big companies are always buying something on another bigger company. They're getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I think the future is going to be quite different. We're going to be dominated by small and medium companies. The big companies will probably not survive. I don't know. But we got also a lot of examples of companies that didn't survive. That's why I'm highlighting these. Look what happens to Kodak. Look what happens to Blockbuster. They got bust. They were number one in their products, and they disappeared suddenly because they didn't see the future. They couldn't predict. What is potentially changing as well is the state of authority. So what is happening to the governments? I think it could be good. It could be the end of the politicians. But that is potentially one of the things we need to consider. I don't know, again, I really don't know, but I believe there will be change as well in the way the governments are structured, definitely. And the biggest one for me, and the one I'm more fascinated, is about the social transformation. I think, what we're trying to build here is a better world. I don't think it's going to be bad. It's going to be a better world where it will be a free and more shared world. So that's what I think. And as I'm looking for as well. And I believe, this kind of transformation, this society transformation, it will start to happen probably in, I don't know, but probably in 20, 30 years' time, we will have already some different, ideas, and we could probably see some of the things. But remember, and I like that, I'm not trying to preview the future, and I can't do it, but just look and remember, look back to the patterns, what happens before. And remember, what happened today is something we haven't seen before. So it's a huge transformation, bigger than ever. So that's what I see. And I'm happy to see it. And I hope to live this big transformation, because I believe that is going to be a better and fair world for everyone. And thank you very much. Hope you enjoy. Thank you. I'm sorry for the technical points.